is Valeria Flores. I am from the Naughties channel, and I am the president of National Junior Honor Society. And to start the chapter of National Junior Honor Society, we're here to talk to the mayor about concerns in our Dickinson community and how to fix them. Well, let's go.
Can I use the bathroom?
Yes, it is. If you go down this way and turn left and just go down the hallway a little bit, it'll be on your left. No, everybody's good? Okay.
You guys want something to drink? No?
Well, anyway, I'm glad y'all are here, and I was excited to get your email and everything about your project, and here to help however I can. So, yeah, the floor is yours. Like, what?
So I'll help with that to start
Okay.
with. Historically, we've never. I've been a co-sponsor of the National Junior Honor Society for 8 years.
Okay.
And every time we did a community project, it seemed to stay inside the school.
Okay.
And so I came to them after they were elected and talked to them about maybe expanding that into doing something outside. And so that's when Valeria wrote you the letter.
Okay.
And
Very
just
cool.
to see what the different issues or problems or ways we can improve the city,
Okay.
so that we could involve our whole chapter. We have 60 participants.
Gotcha.
So we have, this is the biggest chapter we've had since McAdams split into 2 schools and we got grants. So this has been our largest group of students. And so they said that that was a really good idea. And so she wrote the letter and just kind of took off with it.
Cool. So are y'all looking to do, is your project about, like, you want to know about issues facing the city? Or is it more oriented like y'all are wanting to do something in the city from like a public service standpoint? Or is it both? Or what are y'all, what kind of is your focus? Yeah, what kind of is your focus?
Wouldn't it be easier to do it in the city because we're also balancing our schoolwork and if we have house chores, so wouldn't it be easier to do it in the city?
Sure, I guess my question was more as in, is your project like you want to learn about issues that the city has, or are you wanting to do something
To better the community.
Better the community itself, or one or the other?
Do something to better the community.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're looking for like opportunities to do something. Okay, I kind of turn this around a little bit on you. So y'all live here in the city and y'all see things and drive around. What do you think some of the issues are? Because frankly, when I can tell you what I think issues are, but I hear those from people. And I observe it myself, but a lot of it you hear is from people. So what do y'all drive around, you see things, like what do you think issues are? What would you say?
Homeless people and
Okay.
the graffiti on the streets
Okay.
and on the walls.
Yeah.
So
So, like, vandalism and invading property?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Mm-hmm. And I hear about that. Yep.
do y'all
Sure.
have anything that you see when you're driving from school to grocery stores?
Not all the time, but sometimes I see like trash
Mm-hmm.
and so.
Yep. Hear about that as well?
I know the athletics department, the girls' athletics department does a trash,
We do
what
a
is it?
trash pickup.
Trash bash or trash pickup.
There's a big day we do once a year usually. It doesn't have to just be one day, but there is. That's kind of the big day that everybody does when everybody goes out and does all
I
that.
feel like it's in the spring, remember
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I feel like it's only on Hughes, or do they do?
They kind of clean up the bayou. It's a little more than that, but they
Okay.
usually, I think they usually meet around the boat ramp
Okay.
or near Paul Hawkins, but they do that. But again, that isn't something you have to wait till the spring
Right.
to do. Of
No, no,
course.
no.
Is there anything like beyond like an aesthetic? So not just how the city looks, but are there like issues that you see? Because like when you mention homelessness, that is an issue that you see. But I don't know that the issue with homelessness is so much, I have to look at homeless people, right? It's the idea that there are homeless people, right? And that that's a problem in and of itself. Though some people see it more as I don't want to see it problem. But is there anything like just kind of community issues maybe that you see to an extent with anything? Whether it's like a crime kind of issue or something, or
Okay, so I have got a thought for the homeless.
okay,
That's more like an economic problem because they don't really have like the
Mhm.
money to have their own home or job.
yeah,
So the thing is, why not give them like educational opportunities? There's like universities and colleges they
Mhm.
could go through. So why not like at school in Avid we have projects like to
Mhm.
spread awareness of colleges. Why don't we also do the same thing here, like spread awareness of colleges for people who need education?
that could be one way to go. I do know if you're kind of looking at homelessness, we have some groups in town that do things, and if you're looking for public service, that's a good way. M.I. Lewis is one, is very big here, does a lot with homelessness, and particularly right now, they are really overtaxed because inflation and things have been such a problem that they have really depleted a lot of their resources. Food, pantry, and things like that. I'm told is not, it's they've been a lot better. So
We can do a food drive.
that's always
They're already
welcome.
over the food drive. So we
You're already doing that.
they're
Okay.
already over
Well,
the
M.I.
the
Lewis
stuff the
project.
bus
Okay.
project goes to the M.I. Lewis. Is it a foundation or what do they call it?
Yeah, it's a nonprofit. Yeah.
And so all of the things that are collected and money that is donated
Okay.
goes to the food pantry.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And we get to be over that this year.
Well, that's
So
great.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's awesome. And because I know they really, really need it. So I'd also encourage you. They meet. It's not every Saturday, but maybe it is every Saturday. I think they meet pretty early out by back behind the church out on 517. Where is it?
Is it the Methodist church?
No, it's the other side. So it's I'm saying maybe it's the Presbyterian church. But they meet out behind that church. We could get the details for you. But they meet out behind there, and they do pick up and stuff in the morning, and they need help like doing distribution and stuff.
Okay.
So that could be something maybe you could do as like a little extra if you're already doing things with M.I. Lewis. I know they always need people to do that. You don't need. You just have to be able to lift stuff. It's not a very technical job. So it's pretty easy to do. So that could definitely be an element. I mean, as far as wanting to do something else for homelessness, there's always things to think about. I don't have a clear solution for you at the moment, but it could be maybe education thing, or in some cases, it's not even about education. It's about there might be like deeper issues, like mental issues, things like that people have.
Like we can help, or we can, with the education, we can help the kids in school who don't have enough money to stay in the education. So we can do like money drives for them to stay in school, have an education.
You're talking like scholarship
Like a
kind of things or
fundraiser.
something? Like a scholarship kind of deal or a stipend or something like that? I mean, I think that could be something there as well. Are there any like others, we're talking about homelessness a little bit, are there any other things like y'all are kind of experienced, like that maybe you have friends or something that they're going through something or dealing with something in the city?
I don't know that friends go through this, but
Uh-huh.
I noticed that after Harvey, the depletion in the what do you guys call it? Not the holiday through the park. What is it called? The Festival of Lights.
Uh-huh.
Festival Light.
And then it did get back up and running,
Yes.
but is it back up to par of where it was?
Pretty
prior?
much. I mean, that is always, they always do need people to help set up. They actually start setting up now. I saw a deal that they are, October 1, they start setting up. Because it takes them about a month to 6 weeks, I think, to get going. So that is another possibility. They do always
Something
need
about
people.
bringing the community together. Because
Mhm.
I'm thinking like an event that brings the community together, and I know that Festival
Yeah,
of Lights is one
everybody
of them.
loves that for sure. And yeah, they were fine to do it. It had nothing to do with the hurricane so much because they did it after the hurricane. It was the county was putting in the new bridge because FEMA would not let us use that bridge again, so we had to put in a new one. So and there was too much construction and it delayed. And then they were going to do it the next year, and then COVID happened. And then they couldn't do it that year, so it was 2 years, and then finally they did it last year. After a while, so but it went pretty well. It was very popular last year. I had something else I was gonna maybe think about. One issue you talk about things people don't talk about. So we have this beautiful bayou in town, right? The water quality is abysmal. It's full of coliform bacteria. We had some people from Texas A&M AgriLife that came out and spoke, and they were talking about, I wouldn't eat out of that deal. I think there's actually a guideline that says don't eat out of the bayou more than like once a week or something due to the stuff. And I told that to someone, and they said, really, just once a week? because they live in the bayou. I guess they fish a lot. I was like, hey, that's just what they said. That's what science said. But something I think about water quality awareness is good, because the bayou is living, but it is not like a body of water you would want to swim in.
Yeah, so like you can do a trash pickup by the beach.
When even trash, I'm even thinking beyond that, that you talk about like awareness about
the things that go into the water.
Exactly,
Right.
because you have a lot of it is fertilizer use, other things, pet runoff, stuff like that,
And
and it all goes in there.
Inside.
Okay, you've just been talking about
this.
this.
We did.
Our area too, but others, yeah.
But people don't know that, so they don't
They
know
do
that
not.
runoff causes, what does it cause, guys?
Dead zone.
Dead
Dead
zones.
zones because of the amount of algae that grows. So people don't know that, and that's what he's saying,
That's
is
right.
that it really affects the bayou right now.
Yep. And it's not like this is unique to Dickinson, but it is problematic.
It's problematic for the area.
Yes, it is. Yes,
And
it
people
is.
aren't aware of that, like you're saying, the guy that just fishes and eats whatever he wants.
I know. I
doesn't
was like,
know.
whoa! I think they say it only once a week, right? Because there's just stuff in there that. We had someone that said, they go, I swim in that water, and the scientist from A&M AgriLife was like, I would not do that. She was like, no.
So I wonder if there's something that they could do to get awareness about what's happening with the water quality.
Did A&M give any suggestions of what to do that would help the quality of water?
Oh, sure. And in fact, let me look at my calendar. If y'all are inclined on, it's just funny, I was looking at my calendar for the month, like, all right, what do I got to do this month, right? On Saturday, October 15th at 9:30 a.m. here in the council chambers, there's a storm drain stewards workshop where A&M does a deal and they talk about storm drains and whatnot.
Can you write that date down?
It is 9:30
It's okay.
on Saturday, October 15th.
Okay.
It is right here at City Hall.
Okay. It's okay. If you can't make it, it's okay. We're just writing down ideas.
But even if not everybody can make it, it could
Right.
give you, they can give you a lot better information on
And
what to
about-
do
yes.
than what I'm gonna be able to just recall.
That's to help with the storm drains?
Yeah, because that's slightly a different issue, but related. They're talking about when you cook with grease or something, do you pour it down your drain, right? Or some people take outside, they pour it in the storm drain in front of the house. Because you put in your own pipes, it can clog up, so they just dump it out. I used
This
to
is
dump
kind
it.
of what we talked about. Everything that when it rains, it's going to run off into that storm drain. That storm drain runs off.
The dead zone.
There's even things like picking them after your pets. I was surprised to learn that pet droppings, like just poop from animals, even the urine, that can be an issue. But more so the solid waste, right? That it all washes in there. That's the do what?
We talk about that with Yellowstone, how the animals that go in the water affect
And
the
the sediment
town.
cell.
The hooves, the dirtiness into the river.
A lot of it's the use of phosphates in fertilizers and such. That's a big cause of it. But there's all kinds of stuff that goes in there, and maybe awareness would. I think that would be a great idea if you did something like that.
Okay.
And like you say, it's not something people often talk about.
You're right. I would not have guessed that because a lot of people actually move onto the bayou so they can have that prime fishing spot. They probably don't
Catch and
know.
release, catch and release. Like I said, I would not. We had one person got upset at a meeting. They were like, "This is a living bayou," and it's like, well, it's not that it isn't living, but it has some issues.
Right.
It has issues. So,
Have any other issues been presented to you just from people that come?
we get a lot of stuff. I mean, some of the stuff I don't think y'all are going to deal with as a public service kind of thing. Roads, things like that. I would say, from like economic development perspectives, what we did find when we started doing a comprehensive plan. So we basically have a big plan, and we bring in different people from the city and other people. We have a company help us, and we ask questions like, okay, what does the plan for the city need to be over like a 20-year period? And one of the things that came up early was we had like no youth involvement. So we did over at the high school, there's a group that started like a youth action committee, and they actually meet right in this room once a month. And the president of that is on that committee, and we asked them about needs. Like they brought up, we were talking about what do young people want, and we looked around the room and said, we don't have a single young person in this room, right? And we're like, what do young people want? And so we brought in some young people to talk, and just from a planning standpoint. I don't really know where to go with that with y'all so much,
Right.
but that's a perspective. Sometimes is getting perspective of young people, like what do y'all want? Park space is a big thing. People want that. That's something we're working on, to have actually city-owned parks. The current parks in town, the city does not operate. They're the county's parks. We are working to take those over from the county and that will probably happen because the county just saves money by giving them to us, so they'll probably do it. But then a question does become, maybe once we get more parks and rec going in the city, maybe like what do people want? And that's primarily targeted at young people and families. And so that would be an area input would be good. Another good possibility, I'm just kind of spitballing here, the animal shelter is a place. We just had the first annual Bow Wow, Meow, Luau on, I got that right, on Saturday, and it was a Hawaiian theme, and they had fire dancers and stuff.
We can totally help with that because a lot of people our age, especially and younger, love animals to be with, and
we can also
Miss Grimes had just had her dog have babies and she had brought them to our school.
Oh, cool.
So now that you're saying that, is actually I like to put her idea and your idea together with bringing dogs to libraries and schools to help with adoption. And even just like fundraising.
I'm sure they'd love to do something like that. Our the new shelter director we hired, he actually used to run the New York City Animal Shelter and the Los Angeles Animal Shelter and did some stuff. So has a lot of background in that, a real professional background, more than I would have thought we would get here in Dickinson. Like Michael Bloomberg, like recruited him or something to be in New York to be the animal shelter director and stuff. So he's doing a lot of stuff here to really kind of reform our shelter. And I know they always need help. That's always an area. There was always going to be stray animals.
I'm sure they need donations, maybe for like food,
100%,
and towels and things like that. The kids actually have an account and with a very large fund in it. And since these community projects have never gone much further than the school walls, they're allowed to vote and spend their money on what they want to spend their money on. So they can base it around the project and then be able to donate or be able to give whatever.
That's great. And there are big ticket items they need, like when they built the shelter, it has a hookup for a big industrial gas dryer, but they have just a regular dryer, and they have to do a lot of laundry there for lens and stuff. And so, it's just not the right kind of equipment, and they need it, but it's very expensive. In the animal shelter so I'll kind of explain how the animal shelter works. Most of the cities in Galveston County, the county administers animal services, and they do a good enough job, but the problem can become, often the complaint we hear is the county shelter is often very full. It's hard to get people out and all of this. So Dickinson we do our own shelter within the city itself, and so the city actually provides that service instead of just paying the county some money to do it. That does create a budget issue, and we used to not really track the finances well of the animal shelter, but we've done that better, and it cost a lot of money, and it was just kind of getting supplemented in ways that people weren't aware of, and so we were kind of at grips with the budget. And we definitely have determined we need to ramp up the nonprofit annual contribution to keep it in line with our budget, or it's gonna like explode. We might end up having to use the county someday, which we don't really want to do if the budget just became outrageous.
And what's the name of the shelter for the city?
Bayou Animal Services.
Bayou Animal Services.
And there's a nonprofit that's kind of tethered to it called BFF, Bayou Friends Forever. They just started up. If you go to the city's Facebook page, there's a lot of posts that we just made about the event that we did on Saturday. So, check it out. I wish if we'd met like a week sooner or something, I would have definitely steered y'all that way. They serve spam, like spam sushi. That's actually traditional in the islands. In World War II, a lot of Pacific islands started eating spam because all the soldiers brought it with them. Because it was cheap meat. It's just it's like the parts you don't use for meat, right? So they put it in spam, and they actually kind of like it. It became a cultural thing, and it tastes like fish, though. It tastes like sushi, no spam. It was amazing. Anyway, but I mean, the animal shelter is a great cause as well to look at. We always need help over there. Even raising money, but even just like volunteering, doing things at the shelter.
What about your senior citizens? Do they always kind of get pushed aside, like holidays, things like that?
Right.
Is there anything that they could possibly help with them?
The city itself doesn't necessarily work with that cohort like exclusively. We don't really have a area of the city that does that. It's not to say that there isn't a need. It's not one that I'm immediately like familiar with or able to
Do we
give
even
you
have
like a
any
lead.
local nursing homes? I know there's one
In
in
the
Lake
city?
I know there's one in Lake City, but it's like on the border. But
I don't
think that's still
think we do in the city limits.
Yeah.
There's one place I'm thinking maybe is, but I don't think it is.
Yeah. I think that would be the problem.
I don't think
I
it
didn't know
is.
if there was like, around holidays, there's some senior citizens who don't get meals and things like that. anything around it.
That isn't something
like
that
meal deliveries and things like
that would, I'd probably, that's like an Emma Lewis question.
Okay.
They might know more about that than I would, but that isn't something that comes up.
They might be able to point us in the
Yeah. Occasionally I might get an individual question, someone saying like this person needs help with something, and I might get in touch with a group like Emma Lewis and try to ameliorate it, but the city at large doesn't necessarily do that.
Okay. What about community gardens?
So actually, we haven't done it yet, but we are going to have a community garden right out here by City Hall and by the back lot. There's a lot next to the parking lot and next to the little commercial strip behind City Hall. And we are going to have a community garden going up there at some point. Council has approved to allow it. There's a gentleman in town who's sort of, I don't know that we contracted with, and that's not the right word. We just sort of declared that Mr. Brown is going to help do this, but there could be a possibility with that as well, sure.
What about like, when she said nursing home, it got me thinking of us helping, being able to help in hospitals with sick people and getting them gifts and helping, even volunteering to help the nurses.
So we don't really have any hospitals in the city like that. We have some doctor's offices, but that would be something, that'd be outside the city if you wanted to do that. But that isn't something we have here per se.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like hospitals. It could be just like a
Doctor offices, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always go to a doctor's office and just ask if there's some privacy issues. I don't know how they'd handle it, but if there was a need for that, that'd be my best advice, is maybe to look up some of the local doctors and ask if they have any need like that.
Are we still doing a trash bash like student council did last year?
And we talked about that earlier. I think that's done through athletics. I think that they do it every year.
You
Probably
know,
on the
like
same
March
day
or-
that you're talking that the city does one.
Coach
Yeah.
Minotti does.
Yeah, I think Coach. Maybe that's why I'm thinking Hughes. Maybe Coach Minotti signs up to take
Right.
Hughes, and other people take other.
Yeah, I don't think it's
areas.
just Hughes, but
Right.
yeah, I hope it's not.
I think it's Hughes for us because we're closest.
Okay.
McAdams sits on Hughes, so I assume that she probably says, "Hey, we'll do Hughes," and she takes the girls and the boys down that way.
I see. Okay.
I think.
We had this come up. I don't know. Again, when I was talking about like your friends or yourselves or anybody, does anybody live in like an apartment complex in town where maybe the conditions aren't great, like there's problems?
I know right after Harvey,
When we did home
when
visits.
we did home visits, but I don't know if the conditions have improved since.
And I bring that up because Creekside Apartments at 406 Dietz, we're actually in the process of condemning the entire property, most likely. We did a partial condemnation last Monday, and the rest of the buildings, they have 60 days to bring them up to code. I don't know if they're gonna be able to do that, so I'd say there's a good likelihood we may end up condemning the entire property. And it has kind of brought to our mind an issue of, our apartments, are they like sanitary, or people living in squalor? Because the stuff that was presented at the public meeting on Monday, I mean, one of the commission members like cried, and they were showing these pictures of how it was, people are breathing in mold, and just really horrific, right? And so it kind of raises the issue of, you talk about public awareness, right? A lot of people, they lived like that for a long time, right?
They don't have another option.
And they don't have another option, but also stuff doesn't get reported. And so part of it is, how do we as the city find out about this stuff? We are probably gonna put in something where we do some inspections more regularly, but in the meantime, helping people deal with that situation, because at Creekside, for instance, the problem is gonna be, so let's say the whole property does get condemned, all right? Well, the city, we might pay a month's rent or something, but at the end of the day, that defines somewhere else to live. Well, what if the apartment doesn't let you out of your lease, right? Well, that's not the city's fight. The city just closes the apartment. All we do is say it's not sanitary. But do people have education about where to get like free legal services? Because they probably would need to sue the management property, right? Like what their actual rights are as consumers in the state. And a lot of people don't know that. And what we're finding is we're telling residents like, yeah, this property might get condemned. We're getting questions like, oh my God, what if I can't get on my lease and all this? And we're like, well, we can't give you legal advice, but these people could. And so maybe something about like your rights as renters or things like that. That's an issue that's been up recently. Like, that kind of comes to mind just because of what we're dealing with. But also just the issue of knowing about problems like that with renting.
I wonder if there's any students that live there.
Megan,
Probably
you were gonna
are.
say something about your friend.
We've had murders over there, all kinds of stuff.
My friend, I don't know what apartment she's staying, but I know it's somewhere near the high school, and I know it's not like the best apartments. Like the inside is the best.
So maybe something about awareness about like what, speaking up, what does the law say? How do we get engaged in that? Things like that. That you're not supposed to live in conditions, because they were probably living in these conditions since Harvey. So probably like 5 years they were living in really horrific, exposed transformer boxes. They were just painting over mold, like when it came up, stuff like that. I mean, sewage leaking out of the ground.
What does the city do with the property when they own the property? Once the city
Well, we don't own the property, so
once they condemn the property.
so that means it's torn down. So we basically say you have to. So we condemn it. We give them 60 days to abate it, which means to fix it. I don't know that they'll be able to.
Right.
So then we tear it down. So at that point, the property owner has to decide what they're going to do with it. Obviously, we'd like them to do something more constructive with it if it goes that route. But no, the city. You were the second person that asked me about that, and they all assume, well, the city owns it after that, doesn't it? We do not own it after that. We just say you have to tear it down, what's on the land.
How do they not let you out of your lease if there's no physical building for you to
Because you signed a contract.
But there's
Well, they might be. It may be an issue where they're supposed to let you out of your lease, but what do you do if you're an indigent person who doesn't know, and they're like, well, we don't have to let you out of your lease,
And they just keep paying.
Can we help
and
with
then
that?
you need a lawyer to tell you, like, no, sir, no, ma'am, they can't do this to you. So that's where you get, because a lot of people.
They could look and see
It might be like
apartment
flyer
complexes
information
that are in
or
our
like
area.
Can we help with that? Like, since if they can't have an apartment to live in, we can rent our homes to them. Like,
I don't know.
Hold on.
or
You
like,
might need to consult.
or like,
These poor people have been kicked out of Creekside. Can they
or
live
help
with
them
us?
go to a different apartment, because I live in a subdivision, me and her,
Mhm.
where there's literally new apartments right next to us. Like, they just built brand new apartments. So if they get kicked out of their old ones, we can help them find new apartments to move into.
Well, I will say that is an issue. So MI Lewis is trying to help some, but I think they said that there are only 7 like rent controlled apartments, and I mean like units available in the county, like right now. So they'll probably have to move out of the county,
Right.
which could be okay, but it depends, like, where do you work? Again, what's your mode of transportation? If you're living in an apartment like this, you're probably not particularly well off, right?
Yeah,
So it
that's
starts to
what I was
put a
saying.
burden on you.
It's expensive.
It is.
So-
So now you have to drive longer, and I'm not sure what y'all do with that, but I'm just kind of throwing it out to you, and
I
maybe it's a thing
I
to
don't know
think
that
about.
we can move the people in our homes, but we could definitely spread awareness for information on things.
That they have rights for things.
Yeah.
They get information.
Because that will help them to some degree if they get damages from the management company or whoever, or if they let them out of a lease. So
But I'm interested if we have any students who
We
Mhm.
probably
currently
it's something to
live
think about.
there,
It is something to think about.
that we might need to reach out.
In about 60
Yeah.
days, we'll kind of know more with what's going to happen with, because the buildings they're condemning now are already vacant, basically. So the ones that they have yet to condemn are on a 60-day clock.
We can totally like use the intercom or counselor, since they don't want to reach out and say it directly. They can say it suspicious, anonymously. So, because a lot of kids are not really sure because they might not have enough money.
There's a process in school.
Well, and I would say that would be of some use to the city, because so we put up notices over there, and we're pretty sure they took the notices down, the apartment people, so that some people were like, I didn't even know this was happening. But we've had code people walking around for months,
Right.
basically checking out the property and posted notices. So I would actually say that would be helpful if maybe the school district at large, for your part, if you did say something, I don't know how you would distribute it, but if they said, or you just look through records, do you live at Creekside Apartments?
So
It might behoove them to get in touch with the city, because then we can say, here's legal aid, right? Here's the, and that's an organization. Here's the stuff for legal aid. Here's other resources.
There's a process once the student is homeless already,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be living with somebody else. If the student doesn't have an address for their parent themselves, of the way that some things are coded and our counselors are aware at school,
Mm-hmm.
just the process, like you're saying, there's a process they go through, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that they can pull addresses based on just a certain section
Mm-hmm.
and be able to develop a list of who would potentially become homeless.
That
if
would
that
be,
makes sense.
yes, that would be at risk.
Right.
Yeah. Because I would say
That's
probably
something
the
to
time
look
is
into.
now to start looking for somewhere else to live before the actual condemnation comes in. Because once we do that, they'll get X amount of time to leave. as I understand it. So that would be helpful, and that's kind of a very immediate concern. And that could really that could be a district-wide thing. You could maybe try to talk to people about doing, because it wouldn't just be your school.
It'd be high school, Creekside
It'd be
school.
anybody who goes.
Could be anybody.
Yeah.
So there could be people living there as well. So I kind of hope not, but probably are.
Okay.
It's not a great place.
All right.
Do you guys have anything to add? You two are very excited. No?
So I was gonna say about the funds. You know, like
Yeah.
there's like ads or like little boxes where you can fund money. Depending on where they're at, certain people have like their eyesight, the way that they see things, they see it differently. So maybe like the places, like their place, they could be changed to spread more awareness to the community.
What do you mean exactly that?
So, like our teachers say, either you like reading or hearing the teacher. So like,
okay.
I mean, you like seeing or reading with listening to the teacher. Sorry, I'm getting.
So it's kind of the idea that you do a better job. Some people learn like visually. Some people learn by listening. Okay.
Like their way of learning, their
Gotcha.
way of seeing the ads.
A learning style. Gotcha.
Could we like change some things, like the ways that they see them, so they could spread more awareness?
So do you mean spreading awareness through like different like forums?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, because she's saying, so some people when they just read it, they just think because you need money and not because you're trying to actually help the organism.
So maybe change
I see.
instead of just putting flyers up, doing it a different way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like
what she's
to
talking
add a
about.
purpose.
Because a lot of times they just put flyers up, and like you said, people go around and take them down.
Yeah.
So if they just take them down,
So
then
maybe-
people don't have the awareness. So maybe a different way of presenting information.
That's what she's talking about. So we probably don't have enough money, but like an example is an ad to put on a television. But the way we probably can do it is going in the sidewalks with posters and actually telling them face to face, this is for helping kids in need or people in need that need more money or just
I think
help.
social media is a really good
I have a social
way
media.
to spread awareness, just because it's an easy
Uh-huh.
monetary value. It's very inexpensive,
Or
but
we could do what you did.
there's so many people who just.
That's true. I say, please don't go down to Creekside with signs.
No,
it
we're
ain't
not.
safe down here, please God.
No,
Don't.
we're not going to Creek.
Nobody wants that. Do not. No.
We're not going to Creek.
Like the mayor sent us down to Creekside with signs. No, we did not. We did not.
If y'all wanted to go down the Bayou route
Yeah.
of helping to promote
Mhm.
awareness for cleaning it up, y'all could make, some type of like video ad, and we could post it to our social media,
That'd be
and
pretty
that
good.
would be something that wouldn't cost y'all. No, I mean if y'all like
Yeah,
did,
we
like
could show
created
help.
things,
We could show us helping picking up trash, and we can post it on social
Remember,
media.
it's more than just trash too. So then we
It's the
really
river,
develop
the
idea.
dead zones, the fundraising. We could do the whole thing.
y'all could create
Post
an
it.
entire video type thing, and I'm sure that we could post it on different social
Mhm.
media outlets for y'all.
That'd be great. I mean, that would really be of some use.
And
then
Mr. Chaffney
I
can help
know-
them make it
I was
creative.
gonna say Jenna. What is her last name? Simpson.
Yeah,
Simpson?
she's on Council Simpson.
Yeah, I'm like, what is
Well, we
that?
have one who's Simpson with a P, and then she's Simpson with
the
Simsen,
Yeah.
and then they sit by each other. So I'm always like, good thing she's a woman, because I'm like Councilman Simpson, Councilwoman Simpson. So that way we keep them apart. But
I'm sure she could come down and get something together.
Oh, I'm
we
sure.
create that could be posted.
I'm
that
sure she would.
would spread awareness
Mhm.
too. She's really good at that.
But yeah, again, if anyone can, that stormwater thing. It's not the most riveting thing in the world. I'll be honest with you.
But when
and
people
I've seen
live
like
on
3 of
bayou-
them, so I probably won't be there myself. But it is good though.
When people live on the bayou, like that's something they need to know about, you
Mhm.
know. And it's something that, what is it? Red, white, and blue on the bayou. Like all these different things, these events. That
Yeah, we did
happen,
Red Wine Bayou recently. Yeah.
Like that they need to know about. I think it's important.
And it really is a good asset for our community, and we're trying to do some economic development that kind of highlights it or has it as really a central focus, because we can really make it nice, and there can be cool things to do, like right on the water, and to be out here and to really attract people and spend some money in town and let us really make this a nice place. And so it would be horrible to have this, but it's like, toxic water, right? Nobody wants that. It's beautiful, but don't touch it. Right? So that would be really good.
We need to get some more
Yep.
eyes on that. That'd be
Okay.
a good project.
We wrote down the date and everything.
After they meet as a whole group,
Uh-huh.
because of course I said there's like 60 of them. So
Yeah.
they're going to take this information back to the 60.
Okay.
They're going to pick a project together since it's supposed to be student led. So we're going to let them kind of
Mhm.
get a feel with all of their fellow members, see what they want to do, then I'll reach back out to you and let
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what they decide and kind of keep you informed. Hopefully it'll be like a year-long project, so they'll work on it
Okay.
continuously and see where we get from start to finish
Okay, cool.
and
Well,
create a goal.
what I'll do since y'all here, I'll give you each of your card if you ever have an
Okay.
issue or anything. Feel free to reach out here. I'm not sure. Here, just take some and pass it down. Grab one there.
And we appreciate your time
Yeah.
and everything to get to know and get to help the city.
This stuff's kind of fun to do. So. No. Well, anything else? Like any questions or anything? Or
I think they were more nervous than anything.
okay, that's all right. That's no problem. Awesome.
Alright,
Yeah.
are y'all good?
Yeah.
Okay.
We good? Alright, well thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
We
I'll be happy to
appreciate
walk
it.
y'all
Thank you.
out.